As South Africa's plumbing industry workforce ages and the skills gap increases, it's more important than ever to educate people about opportunities in this sector. There are possibilities in the field, but most people believe that plumbing is a dirty job or a low-wage occupation. But the industry provides a chance for young people to find work. Joining me now to discuss this further is Rendani Tshivhula, who is with the Plumbing Industry Registration Board. Rendani, a pleasure to have you on the program this morning. Now, firstly, do you know the reason behind why many black South Africans look down on plumbing? I mean, when you think about it, especially when it comes to young people and their options for jobs, it wouldn't seem that plumbing would be the most attractive one.
100%. I think before I get into answering you, thank you very much for the opportunity as an industry board. We appreciate such exposure to express the value as an industry. But to go straight to your question, let's be honest, when you think of plumbing, the first thing that any normal person would think of is a toilet and a person in an overall.
It's not glamorous.
It's not glamorous, you know, and that's the limited perception. Because of the limited value proposition, I guess, as an industry that we haven't exposed. So if anything is not attractive to young people, chances are we won't see a lot of activity around that. And I think it's a reflection of a lack of knowledge and the lack of value proposition that the plumbing industry has to offer. But it's such platforms that allow us to close that gap, you know, and to make sure people understand that there's a variety of opportunities. It's not just limited to wearing an overall and, you know, unblocking a drain. It's actually a very professional industry.
Let's speak about the opportunity to fill that skills gap like you rightfully put out. What kind of opportunities lie, more specifically, in industries such as plumbing? I mean, yes, we have already touched on the fact that it's not normally the most attractive option when one thinks about careers, but there is a market.
Look, I mean, it's very broad, and I thank you for that question. It's such a broad field of opportunity. I want to break it down into three. As the Plumbing Industry Registration Board, all right, we are responsible for exposing such opportunities within the industry. Now, the common opportunities that people are used to are more of the technical opportunities, where people are in the field and are, you know, unblocking drains, installing geysers, and which is a fact. There are opportunities in that from a technical aspect. But even in the technical side, we have designations, specializations, solar, heat pump, you know, so it is broad in itself. Apart from the technical side, as the PRB, we are honored and blessed enough to work with the 5 role players. Within those role players, we have government and private sector. I mean, there are administrative opportunities. And I'm very confident enough to say, even at our offices, you know, 80% of our workforce is operated by female, you know, females and ladies and women, which is such an encouraging thing. But there are administrative opportunities. Moving from administrative opportunities, there are entrepreneurial opportunities, where you can actually start from the technical side and work your way up and become a successful entrepreneur and also bridge the gap of unemployment. And I mean, our industry is a solution to one of the biggest crises in the country, which is youth unemployment. And if people can understand that, look, there's a lot of value proposition within this industry. I mean, ultimately, we are responsible for transporting the most valuable commodity on earth, more valuable than gold and platinum, you know, which is water. It's been there and it will always be there. So it shows that this is a long-lasting career field that one should actually introspect in and not just think about it from a technical perspective. We only think of plumbers when our drains are blocked. You know, we only think of plumbers when there's no water. But actually, it's unfortunate. Just take a second to think, if all the plumbers decided to take a strike just for an hour, the disaster that would happen, you know. So it shows that this is the one industry that affects all humanity, that affects all industries. Put a test to our industry expertise. I was like, you know, other industries have bragging rights. They have stats to say we contribute this amount towards the GDP of the country. It's very difficult to analyze the plumbing industry because plumbing is found in mining. I mean, I'm sure there are toilets here at the Newzroom Afrika offices, right? Of course. So, I mean, we affect all humanity and all industry, and the opportunities are wide. You can even become an auditor within our industry. So it is endless, it's huge. We just encourage people to introspect. And another valid, important thing is, do not make this career choice a second or third option. Just because law panel beated you, you know, or accounting was a bit difficult. Now, hey, let me just fall into plumbing. I think that's where the perception needs to change. It needs to be respected just like all other industries. Make it a first choice industry. And whatever you put your mind to, if you're dedicated and you're prepared and you meet the opportunity, that can only lead to explosive results. And that's what our industry has to offer.
It's quite important you speak about changing perceptions. I mean, one of the things that really lie quite bare in many of our eyes is the high unemployment rate in this country, especially amongst young people. Is our careers such as plumbing the answer to fill some of those gaps as well?
100%. 100%. I mean, as I said, we work with the most valuable commodity, which is water, but we have different designations, we have different opportunities and different platforms. And because people haven't tampered into this industry, it shows that people haven't utilized that gap. You see, so there are opportunities to close and fill up that gap of unemployment. But if people aren't directing their energy, if everyone wants to become a doctor, you know, there's traffic towards the medical field. If everyone wants to become a financial expert, there's traffic towards that, but we're neglecting the trades. All right, the trades are so important for the survival of humanity and movement. And there's a big age gap as well. The experts in our industry are quite of a mature age. I'm trying to avoid the word old. You know, but they're quite of a mature age. And the entry level of the next generation is very minimal. I've had the privilege of engaging some of the TVET colleges and TVET institutions, you know, just recently. And you can see that because of a lack of knowledge, there's a lack of interest and there's a lack of entry towards our industry. But that's why the PIRB, as well as the Institution of Plumbing South Africa and many other organizations within our industry have invested in creating awareness and saying, here's a solution. Our first citizen, our Honorable President, President Cyril Ramaphosa, mentioned that, guys, water is crucial. That's an element. That's just an indication to say, hey, here's a gap, here's an opportunity to fill a void. And I mean, once we can really share the value propositions in such platforms and people really can comprehend and don't make this a second option and actually also start respecting plumbers, you know, I think there'll be so much growth and there'll be a balance within the unemployment stats. We're not a solution to the entire unemployment issue. Let me clarify that. But we are a part of the solution that hasn't been tapped into effectively.
Quite interesting you mentioned that. But, you know, if I make a call out, especially for a plumbing-related issue in my house, I would want the comfort of knowing that the person I'm hiring is skilled and knows what they're doing, or else the problem will be further exacerbated. Let's speak about the kind of training that's offered, especially in this sector.
Yes. So I'd rather speak about how to become a qualified plumber and also encourage the consumer to listen to this part. It's very critical as a consumer because the consumer is also a critical role player within our industry. So because you select who you want to, you know, deliver that service, all right? But it's very important that you utilize a qualified and registered plumber, all right? And that's where we as the PIRB fit in, all right? Our responsibility is to encourage plumbers to go get their qualification, start as a learner plumber, get all the intellectual property and experience that you require. Once you're qualified and you've passed your trade test, you register with us in order for you to become a licensed plumber. When you become licensed, you get a license, literally a card with a license number on. And that's why consumers need to be aware of this. When you utilize a plumber, ask for the license, ask for the registration number. Because if any practice or service is conducted and it is not done according to the standards that are required, or perhaps there's a false installation by, I'll give an example, a geyser, that could cause tremendous harm or even death. And I mean, it's very difficult of us as the PIRB to monitor or to even create a reflective analysis if something is being conducted wrong, if the person is not registered. So you see, we can act upon if the practices or services have been provided by a registered and qualified plumber, because we also have an auditing system in place after work has been done. You don't even need to call us. You know, we send our auditors out, and that's where other industry organizations play a role to go and monitor and assess the quality of work. Are they reaching their standards? Is this work actually credible? Is it safe for the environment? And that's why it's quite critical to ensure that you utilize a trusted and qualified plumber. But to become a trusted and qualified and licensed plumber, you would need to get an education, all right? From grade 12, matric, you register into a TVET institution. Okay. Obviously, you focus and you select your subject. You see how serious the plumbing industry is? It's just like registering for another degree, but it's a qualification in itself. After you've passed your qualification, then we link you or align you to an apprenticeship program where you get aligned to experience, and obviously we transfer knowledge through that process. Then you pass your trade test. Once you've passed your trade test, you're automatically now a qualified plumber. But the final step would be to jump in and become a licensed plumber. And we recently introduced what we call the Master Plumber designation, which is probably the highest qualification when it comes to the plumber, because we realize that we have to create role models as well. You know, if there aren't any role models within our industry, it's not going to attract the next generation. Right. You see what I mean? So we're looking forward to the next generation, and hence we've invested in creating so much awareness. But consumers, you play a critical role. You need to help us professionalize the industry. And we cannot ignore all of the ad hoc operators that aren't registered. We know that we come from a difficult background. Not everyone is on the same economic status. Right. But it is important for us to professionalize this industry so that we can change the perception around this industry. We need to develop. We cannot be a continuously developing country. We've got all that it takes. It requires commitment from everyone in order to achieve the common vision.
And speaking about professionalizing the industry, some may be watching us speaking right now and wondering, what's the earning potential, especially when it comes to plumbing?
Yeah. So I won't give figures, all right?
Anyway, it's difficult.
It's very difficult because at the end of the day, if you're a plumber, you create your own invoice, but there's a certain pricing standard. And I think once you're in the industry, you become aware of that. And that's why it's also quite important to become part of the network and the database of professionally registered plumbers, because you learn how to price, you learn how to move. But what I do want to emphasize and provide clarity in is the fact that this industry can become economically viable, just like any other industry. We've seen plumbers starting as learner plumbers up until to the point where they own their own franchises and are creating platforms of employment. So it's not an industry that one should avoid on the basis of, am I going to earn enough? Yeah. It's just like in any other industry. What you put in, you'll get out, all right? It can take care of you. You can qualify for a bond. You can actually purchase a vehicle. You can survive. You can pay for your children's school fees. It's just like any other industry, depending on how big your vision is and how far you want to go. Everyone has their own certain levels of satisfaction, but this is an economically viable industry. And that's part of our ultimate vision, to be quite honest. We want to create an attractive, economically viable, all-inclusive. And when I say all-inclusive, you know, let's be honest. When we think plumber, we're thinking of him. You know, we're not thinking of her. Yeah, we neglect the ladies. We neglect the women. And I really believe that women are incubators in general, all right? And they give life to anything. Here's a stat. We currently have close to 2.4% of participation when it comes to females within the plumbing industry. Not the proudest stats that you'd want to talk about, but compared to the global village, we're actually one of the leaders in this. But now, how do we grow this? This means young people, young females, take a stand, help us change this perception, and help us correct the imbalances from the past. Because women also look into the detail of things. You know, there's quality assurance when there's participation, without creating stereotypes, of course. You know, but it's quite important that we get significant participation of females as well. And we can't leave out people of disabilities. All right, who said because you are disabled or I am disabled, I cannot partake within this particular industry? You see, because of the limitation of value that we offer, and we segment those people. But people of disability, people of women as well, people who've been left out in the past, this industry is here for you. There's a big opportunity. I always say this, and this is one of my favorite punchlines, all right? There's the saying that, you know, I want a piece of the pie. But with the plumbing industry, we don't work with pieces of pies. We work with baking powder. We work with flour. We work with different ingredients. We make pies. There's enough for everyone to grow and even take care of their next generations. Just if we can coordinate ourselves and really change the perception of how we look at this industry.
You've explained to us what the plumbing industry registration board seeks to do. But for those watching us and wanting to get in touch with you guys and find out more about the work that you do, how do they do that?
All right, so I'd like to encourage everyone to go onto our digital platforms. All right, www.pirb.co.za. On Facebook, it's PIRB. Instagram, @plumbing_industry. On Twitter, @plumbingboard. But beyond that, seek knowledge. You see, you have to have the interest. We can't force you to really want to amplify your life. Seek knowledge, and I really want to emphasize this. Change the perception of the industry. It's not just an overall based industry.
Yeah.
And also respect plumbers. These people play a significant role in the existence of humanity. This is probably the longest lasting career in the history of humanity, and it will probably be there even after we're gone. But respect the plumber. Next time you see the plumber standing there or coming, respect the plumber, because even the plumbers tend to feel that, you know, we're not getting the respect that we feel because people look at us as if we're just a toilet guy, you know, and we're not. We are engineers that transport water, you know. Let's maybe also give certain titles to our industry, but we play a crucial role in the upliftment of humanity. And please contact us. Our staff at the PIRB is world class. All right, I didn't get paid to say that. I can standardly say that they're really world class. And whatever inquiries that come in, if we can't assist you, we will direct you to the correct platforms. But the industry is working together amongst other industry bodies to make this industry gold standard. That's our vision for Strategy 25. We have to lead, and we have to make sure that this industry is a solution for the development of our country. And it's there. Just have the passion and have the interest. We cannot spark that in you.
Well spoken, Rendani. And as he said there, do respect the plumber. And he's almost convinced me to exchange the suit for an overall now. That was Rendani Tshivhula from the Plumbing Industry Registration Board, speaking to us there about the various career opportunities that are offered in the plumbing industry.